Good morning, Highland students and staff. It is time to catch up, keep up, and move up. And it is time to be ready, be respectful, and be responsible. It is Friday, November 10th, 2017. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then be seated and enjoy our tribute to American veterans.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Joshua Eisenberg. I've been here at Highland. This is my 4th year. I was in the U.S. Navy for 5 years. For me, being in the Navy was just like any other job. I was a postal clerk. I went to the post office in the morning and worked my job. At night, I'd go home to my apartment. I graduated from high school. I was told what probably a lot of students were told. You need to go to college. You need to get a degree. So I went to college, but I really didn't know what I wanted to be. I went to college for 2 years and I still didn't know what I wanted to be, so I ended up looking at other options, and that option ended up being joining the Navy. I did 4 years in Naples, Italy, and 1 year in Suda, Greece. I thought about my family every day while I was away. I spent a lot of money on phone cards to call home at the time. I spent about $20 a week buying a phone card so I could call and talk to family and friends. Something that always went through my head every time I came home is just the changes that were going to happen. When I was in Naples in the year 2005, I only spent 10 days in the U.S. that year. So every time I came home, there was a lot of changes. One story that I kind of think of is one of my friends had moved when I came home, and he told me that his new house was by the Starbucks in Muncie. And when I left, there was no Starbucks in Muncie. So not only did I not know where he lived, there was new restaurants around town for me to navigate around. Probably the biggest difference is when you're in the military, you have a position, you have a job, and everybody knows what that is. So just by walking down the street, on your sleeve you'll have your rank, and people give you respect based off that. And when you're in a civilian life, you don't have that respect. It's pretty much like starting all the way back over. Probably the most fun for me while I was in the military was my brother got to spend, he took a semester off of college and came and lived with me for 3 months. So he was there, I was on the island of Crete, Greece, and he stayed with me in the apartment there. We got to go up to Athens and to Naples and do some exploring, had a really good time.
Hi, I'm Mr. Marlatt. I teach U.S. history here at Highland. I was in the Navy. I joined the Navy for the college benefits because I needed the money to attend, and they helped pay for most of it. I enjoyed working with people. I made some great friends that we're still friends today. I also like going overseas, seeing new places, experiencing new cultures. Seeing my family, seeing my daughter at the time, it was an amazing sight when we got off the airplane and there was my family waiting for me with big warm hugs. One of the best times I had, I got to go to Hawaii. I spent exactly 16 hours in Hawaii. That was our trip on the way home from the island of Guam. It was one of the best days I ever had in my life. We got to see a lot of things. We got to go to the Pearl Harbor Memorial. We got to see NFL football players since the Pro Bowl was being played, and got to experience Waikiki Beach.
What were some of the other places you were deployed?
Oh, I was able to go to, obviously, Hawaii. I got to go to Japan. I got to go to Germany. I went to Guam. I was in Bahrain, which is a small island country right off the coast of Saudi Arabia. And I was deployed one time to Rota, Spain, which was fantastic. I enjoyed every part of it. I got the college benefits. I made great friends. I got to see many of the parts of the world that I would never get an opportunity to see otherwise. It was just a great experience. I definitely grew up. I learned many skills that I still use today. When I was deployed to Spain, we got to take part in the culture, and one of the things that we did, we went to check out the running of the bulls. And we were there on the first weekend, and by accident, we got off of our high perch and we were down on the street when the bulls came running through. And we ended up running with the bulls, and that was pretty exciting to have a big bull maybe 6 feet away from you breathing on your face, and you don't know if you're going to live or die. That was my combat experience.
My name is Mr. Mello, and I was with the United States Marine Corps for 4 years, from 1987 to 1991. Like my experience in the service, I actually enjoyed it a lot. I was 19 when I went in. I was just a little bit older than the normal. Usually you go in when you're 17 or 18, but I was 19 and I had 1 year of college and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I decided to join the Marine Corps, and it was a great decision because I learned a lot. I learned a trade, which is I was an electrician in the Marine Corps, so that was a great thing, and I met a lot of interesting people, and I think I grew as a person. So when I got out, I felt more prepared for real life. I'm happy with what I did because when I was in the military, I got a trade. So when I left, I worked as an electrician during the day, and then at night I went to school. So I was able to afford school because before I was maybe struggling with paying for school. So that kind of afforded me the opportunity to have a good paying job plus going to school at night. So I think it was a good decision in the end, and the experiences that I left with are like invaluable. I didn't have a wife. I did have like a girlfriend, but in the military, a lot of times you get a Dear John letter, and if you don't know what that is, then everybody gets one. It just means, hey, it's tough being apart, and maybe we should separate. But again, it turned out to be really well because we kind of touched bases when I got back, and we became good friends, and it just worked out perfectly. Like, where did I deploy? I was MCRD in San Diego is where I did my training for three months. 3 months of basic training, then we did another couple of months of combat kind of training. Because the Marine Corps is a little longer than the other boot camps. And then I spent 3 years in North Carolina, and I deployed to like Norway. I went to South America. I think it was Nicaragua after that 3-day war. And then my best experience was in South Korea because I was there for almost a whole year in South Korea in a small camp, and I really enjoyed that. So I'd say South Korea was my best deployment that I really enjoyed. Boy, I was just living in the moment. I didn't, since I was an electrician, I didn't do a lot of fighting, or I didn't do any fighting at all, actually. But so I was like in the support. Like when there is like a conflict, there's like people in the back doing support. Like we supported. They do things like electricians provide electricity. The supply people supply the stuff for the front lines for the people who are actually fighting. But so that part I really enjoyed because it's like having a regular job, but at the same time you're doing something to help your country. So that was I don't know. The more I look back at it, the more it was tough at times, but in the end, I became a better person. I was really happy. Like, okay, after 4 years, you kind of like you're ready to go home and like start your life, or you're like I was really happy because I had friends that I had in the military, and we're gonna keep in touch. Plus, I was excited about going back to school to continue my schooling because I did 1 year of college and I stopped, and I was going to come back and continue. So that was really so I was excited for that, and also to see my family because I miss my family a lot and my friends. So yeah.
World War I, known at the time as the Great War, officially ended when the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919, in the Palace of Versailles outside the town of Versailles, France. However, fighting ceased 7 months earlier when an armistice, or temporary cessation of hostilities between the Allied nations and Germany, went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. For that reason, November 11th, 1918 is generally regarded as the end of the war to end all wars.
In November 1919, President Wilson proclaimed November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day, with the following words: "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service, and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of the nations."
The original concept of the celebration was for a day observed with parades and public meetings and a brief suspension of businesses beginning at 11 a.m.
The United States Congress officially recognized the end of World War I when it passed a concurrent resolution on June 4th, 1926.
An act of Congress approved May
13th, 1938 made the 11th of November in each year a legal holiday, a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be thereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. Armistice Day was primarily a day set aside to honor veterans of World War I, but in 1954, after World War II had required the greatest mobilization of soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen in the nation's history.
After the American forces had fought aggression in Korea, the 83rd Congress, at the urging of the veteran service organizations, amended the Act of 1938 by striking out the word armistice and inserting in its place the word veterans. With the approval of this legislation on June 1st, 1954, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars.
Later that same year, on October 8th, President Dwight D. Eisenhower issued the first Veterans Day Proclamation.
In 1968, the Uniform Holiday Bill was signed, which moved the observance of Veterans Day to the closest Monday. It was quite apparent that the commemoration of this day was a matter of historic and patriotic significance to a great number of our citizens, and so on September 20th, 1975, President Gerald R. Ford signed Public Law 94-97, which returned the annual observance of Veterans Day to its original date of November 11th, beginning in 1978. This action supported the desires of the overwhelming majority of state legislatures, all major veterans service organizations, and the American people.
Veterans Day continues to be observed on November 11th, regardless of what day of the week on which it falls. The restoration of the observance of Veterans Day on November 11th not only preserves the historical significance of the date, but helps focus attention on the important purpose of Veterans Day, a celebration of honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. Today, November 10th, we will ask you to stand in silent reflection to honor all those who have served our nation. But we also hope that you will take time tomorrow on November 11th to reflect those who have served. Talk to someone about those who have served or is actively serving, and thank those that you see who have served or are serving.